Are you in? Are you in your wanking
Uh,
pants?
as much as I'd love to say yes, no, I'm just in the lounge at the moment. I like when whenever I'm sort of doing my work, or if I'm making videos, to try and just mix it up a little bit. And I thought, you know what, I'm a bit bored of doing my work upstairs, so why not actually move to a different room and make a couple of videos downstairs as the alternative? So yeah.
Yeah, give your viewers a little bit of variety. I think your next video should be I am a sad, lonely incel, and and no woman will ever love me. That should be your next video. I don't know where I
Uh,
get the inspiration from, but that should be the
I,
one.
I'll write that down. So I'm a sad, lonely incel, and no one will ever love me. And
Yeah,
then I'll.
and you have to put a crying emoji at the end of it.
Okay, all right. I don't know how to actually do that as an emoji. For the moment, it's a winky face. Um,
Fine.
but I'll know that is meant to be a crying face instead, and then I just need like a really fancy picture of
Yeah, you can take a picture of me.
someone
You can
crying.
take a picture of me if you want.
Well, and then put some like teardrops and stuff over it to make it look like that you're the one
Yeah,
crying. I
yeah.
could give that a try. I could give that a go. Why not?
Box of Kleenex in the background. Sorted.
Be a very entertaining photo. Although I don't know what the movie is, but I saw somewhere where there was a scene that played out where the guy had clearly been masturbating in his own home, and then someone walks in. In fact, you know, it might have been Forgetting Sarah Marshall actually, and the guy walks in and he goes, "Are these happy tissues or are they sad tissues?"
It sounds like Incels Assemble too. Great film.
It does. Could you imagine if it was designed like a Marvel movie? I mean,
Yeah.
what everyone would look like.
Myself and Tarantino are in talk, so give it till the end of the year. We'll have an all-star cast. Anyway, we're gonna use this live stream to say why the dating industry is a scam, and hopefully by listening to this live stream all the way through, you are going to be wiser, more learned men who can navigate the vicissitudes of life far more capably than the majority. I've got two phones, so I've got a quote that I want to read because I think that'll capture the sentiments of this live stream nicely. And then maybe if you can just like give some of your opinions on things. Anyway, I'll set you up. So anyway, this is from Oscar Wilde. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions. Their lives a mimicry. Their passions a quotation. So, what I found to be true, especially in this men's dating sphere, is there are a lot of guys who get brainwashed into wanting what other people have told them they should want to want. So, if they're consuming a lot of dating, say red pill, manospheric, cold approach content, it seems to me that a lot of guys think in order to be this high value guy, they need to just keep getting through more and more women. Like more women is going to equate to greater value. And I do think that there are a lot of guys in this space who they don't actually want to live that archetypal rock star lifestyle where they're just going like they're just getting a new girl every single weekend. I find a lot of guys in this space who get involved with cold approach, they just want to be wanted. Like they want to find that best friend who they can do life with, but they almost feel guilty for wanting the things that they want to want because it's not deemed as cool compared like in this industry. So yeah, I just wanted to get you on the live stream because you've obviously had a lot more experience in this field than me. You've worked with a lot of the top coaches and you've filmed a lot of their videos. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on because this is obviously a problem for a lot of guys. You know, they want one thing, but the industry is brainwashing them to want another thing. So, yeah, do you have any thoughts on this particular scam?
So, in regards to where people are being sold a lifestyle that maybe isn't necessarily for them.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an interesting topic because, you know, even people, I mean, whether or not people are aware or not, but I mean, I've been in the industry for about 16 years. I've worked with like 80 plus coaches during that time. And yeah, there's been all sorts of coaches during that time anyway. Ones that have certainly tried to encourage guys to have relationships, and then you've got the ones who are kind of showing that rock star lifestyle and just like the constant partying, and then you've had the ones that have taught things about how to meet women at night, and then there's been all sorts of different game strategies with that, and then even same during the day. But yeah, definitely, I think there are things that are encouraged on guys who come into the industry, or they are sold particular ideologies that isn't necessarily right for them, or not what they were looking for. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone has that prerogative to change their mind whenever they want. I mean, it's fair enough. One moment you might be like, oh, you know what, I really like this kind of girl, and then the next moment, as soon as you've maybe visited another country, you might suddenly go, oh, you know what, I actually like these types of women. I didn't ever think about that before. And then you've got definitely like the guys who they wanted relationships, and then as soon as they've experienced cold approaching or getting, in fact, maybe even not just cold approaching, but actually just getting results with women, then it tends to just sort of like open up their mindset to, wow, okay, I want to experiment. I want to kind of put myself out there in the world and see what I'm capable of attracting and dating. And then they'll go from wanting into a relationship to just staying single and having that kind of party life. But with I think the dating industry in general, though, yeah, I mean, you get guys who are being told, oh, you should, oh, if you want a relationship, but actually, you know what? No, you shouldn't do that. You should stay single forever. And that, I think that's sort of like stuff I do disagree with. If you're getting coaches that are trying to sell people onto a lifestyle that isn't necessarily for them, and most guys that I've met, at least who've come into the industry, they want relationships. Like easily, like 9 out of 10 guys, everyone wants relationships, and everyone wants sex. I think that's I think that's safe to say that I don't think I've ever met a guy who's come into the dating industry and then gone like, you know what, I just love to have a really nice conversation with someone on the street. That would be just so wonderful. Like I've never come across that. Every guy that I've met who's come into this industry, they want sex, hands down. But where I think things then do start changing and actually can, I think, affect people's personalities who maybe were good guys when they came into the industry, and then they've had coaches say like, oh no, actually, like, you need to be single and stuff. And then it's completely changed their personality for the worse. And I've seen that happen a lot to guys. But a lot of it as well is just the marketing strategy. There is certainly just a sales aspect to it. And I know because, like, yes, okay, I've done filming with so many coaches, but I am also the producer for a lot as well. I've been the one to help create campaigns over the years that have helped coaches to somewhat get sales. Some definitely I disagree, but I mean, a lot have been more on the moral, ethical side of things. But definitely there have been coaches that I'm aware of over the years that do try and say and do what they can to encourage guys to buy their services, and they aren't always necessarily the right coach for them.
Yeah, no, I've definitely found that. I've definitely found that when I first came across this world, I struggled to find anybody in this space that I actually resonated with, because for me, it was just all sales. It was all marketing. And I think a lot of guys, like, if they're switched on enough, they've got a good nose for bullshit. You know the difference between someone who's genuinely got a passion for helping
Well,
people and someone who just wants to
well,
line their own pockets, right?
unfortunately not. And this is something that I do have a problem with. I mean, I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of those coaches that I do disagree with are ones that I haven't worked with, and also their businesses just haven't survived as well. Where, yeah, they will let the state and do what they can to get guys working with them when, yeah, they're not right for them.
So imagine there's a guy who's come across this video right now, and he's in a position in his life where he doesn't quite know what he's getting involved in this world for. Maybe he's consuming a lot of content. Some people are telling him, you need to just go out and get through as many girls as possible. Other people might be saying, you need to find the one, you need to be sweet and not like it can be a minefield when you first come into this world, right? It all feels weird. There's so many people. You're like, what's this guy? What's wrong with this guy? And it's like it feels very overwhelming. So after operating in this industry for a long time, what advice would you give to a guy who is completely new to all of this world and he's struggling to decide what he actually wants? Like, what would be the process in helping him?
Okay, well, I think first of all, in fact, actually going back on the other point of something that I didn't mention is that guys who come into this industry. In fact, maybe it's also part relevant to this as well. But guys who come into this industry are very vulnerable guys. They don't know what they want, what they're looking for, but they are looking for a role model who is going to tell them what they need to do if they're going to get results. And so you'd like to think that guys do know better when it comes to picking and choosing their coaches, but the reality is they don't. And funny enough, I've even kind of seen it the same, even with coaches, that there have been coaches who have essentially been scammed by other coaches doing their programs and stuff. So it's almost like the what's the phrase? Not the vulnerable, kind of like
the blind
the blind leading the blind. Yes. So there is an element of that, and it's just too easy that when you've got guys who have learned how to objective handle. They've gone through so many rejections on the street. They've had so many different kinds of conversations. They are very articulate and they know how to sell themselves and they know how to handle every kind of situation. Unfortunately, you are going to get guys that don't know any better. And you're going to, and then they'll work with a coach again that isn't right for them. And I've known there's been many stories over the years that I've known guys who have paid thousands of pounds to go and work with a coach and then not get the results that they were promised. And I do say that in abbreviation, promise. And then in the end, they've then gone to another coach and then got work. They've ended up paying, £1,000 more to work with someone else. And then what has then been kind of fascinating is that they've then actually gotten even better results from the guys the coaches that they probably paid, less money with, as opposed to trying to go for someone who's got more of like a brand title behind them. And then and they've ended up paying like double or triple what they should have. And in fact they could have had a dramatic amount more coaching if they'd have gone to someone who was cheaper but actually cared more about the client that they were working with. So, but then that's not also to say that there haven't been like coaches that do charge a lot of money and they get fantastic results with them. But it seems to be more like few and far between. At least like what at least I'm aware of from like different circumstances internationally. But yeah, so and in answering your other question, so you said what was it? How can guys become more aware of scams and things, or just what their decisions need to be in this industry?
Yeah, so when a guy first comes across this type of content and he thinks to himself, right, I would actually like to improve my life. I would actually like to start integrating cold approach into my life, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what my intentions are right now. Do I need to get through lots of different women? Should I be focusing on finding that one wife-worthy woman? Like, it can feel, I think, very overwhelming when you first start, and then you've got all of these different like blueprints and models and courses that people are trying to plug onto you. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think if you can just give like a simplified blueprint for someone who does want to make cold approach part of their life, but they're not quite sure how they should go about it or what they should be actually pursuing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I did like a 4-part series on this particular topic. So first things first, shop around. Actually, just do your research and watch the different coaches that you're potentially interested in. I personally would say, especially in this industry, have a look at the guys who are constantly putting out content of in fields. So if a dating coach isn't putting out in-field videos, I would be somewhat skeptical of how good they are with approaching. Um, and that's just with definitely with dating coaches. Once you've kind of got a decision of like who potentially you want to work with, also consider their personality. Do you resonate with like their style of doing things, and also do you resonate with their message as well? I mean, there've been certainly like coaches over the years that have taught how to get like same day lays, or they've taught how to, steal girlfriends off of boyfriends and stuff. And I think that's just incredibly immoral. But if that's something that a guy appeals to, then fair play. All right, go and work with that coach. That person has got that kind of branding, that kind of marketing, and they're putting it out there. Then go to them. But I would say, yeah, resonate with the personality and the message of a coach. Watch their footage and see what kind of infield demonstrations they're doing, and if you resonate with that style as well, which can be easier said than done, because if you're someone who's never done an approach, then you just don't know what your style is. So kind of lean maybe a bit more towards personality with that. And then the main thing I would say, even after you've had a consultation, do some kind of like mini experience with a coach. You will have to probably pay a few £100 no matter what, but I would recommend guys do some smaller package first, and then if you like the coach, upsell to one of their bigger programs, rather than just thinking, oh, okay, I will just spend X amount of money and go and do that program, and then find that actually that wasn't the right coach for you. You didn't like their style, you didn't resonate with their message or anything, and then you're suddenly like a few grand down. I've known guys over the years who they've gone and done like a residential experience, which has been like a week long thing, and they've spent like 7, 8 grand, as well as people who've done like months upon months worth of coaching, thinking that that was the coach that was right for them. And then in the end, they just walked away with absolutely no result at all. And then they've ended up going to someone who was probably like 500 quid for a weekend, and then suddenly they've actually got not just the results, but they've also been taught how they can carry on doing the things that they've now implemented into their daily life. And then they've been so happy with it that then they've gone back to a coach and said, right, can we do the larger packages? So, if you're going to be spending a lot of money to work on your dating life, I think you do need to test the water first. You don't just think like, if you spend 10 grand on a coach or 5 grand on a coach, suddenly within a weekend that's going to solve all your problems. And I think actually that's probably the one other message that I would say is that if a message is too good to be true, it probably is. If a coach is saying like you're going to get laid over the weekend, and if you buy my program, and over the weekend you're going to get X amount of numbers, you're going to constantly go on dates, and I guarantee you're going to end up having sex, I would probably stay as far away from them as possible. Now, I'm sure they probably do get results, but what percentage of their clients are actually getting that? And if there's one thing that I can say over the years, is that there is a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to content that goes out. I make sure everything that I film with people is 100% like what you see is what you get, because that's my message. That's kind of my morals and ethics. Like, and I think any coach I've worked with could probably vouch for that. But when there are coaches out there that certainly make their own content, or they try and hustle their way into getting business, I would just be very wary of the kind of messages that are going out, and maybe even have a look at like testimonials from coaches as well. But video testimonials, I'm very aware. If I actually, there is a story of a coach that would steal other coaches' testimonials, and because they were written, you just wouldn't know any better. And he got caught out so many times, and every excuse he kept giving every time was, like, oh yeah, my cousin, it must have been my cousin who did it. And everyone was like, remove the testimonials then. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, my cousin will get round to it. And so, you know, the excuses that some coaches or some hustlers can have is just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think those are probably all the points. And resonate with the personality, I would say. Make sure that coach or dating coach is putting out content that you resonate with and also demonstrates that they are actively doing it with results as well. Um, Test working with that coach. So again, no matter what, you will spend money, but you are better to lose a couple £100 if you're not happy than a couple of grand. And I think there was one other point there, but I can't remember what it was. So yeah, those are, I think, are definitely the main things. And if people watch that back anyway, then they'll catch whatever that one was that I missed.
Yeah, I think having the client testimonial videos. I know when I first started making this content, you were always saying to me the gold standard is have client in fields, client transformation videos, because they really do demonstrate credibility as a coach. I think if you're going to coach in this industry, you actually need videos of you coaching. Yeah, it's like, it's okay if you can show off your own skills, but can you actually teach this? I see that a lot on cold approach channels where it's just that person doing the approaching. That's great. But after you've watched a couple of infields, you know that the guy can do it. Now you want to actually see if he can teach it and also what his clients are saying about him. That's really important for me. Whenever I go, because I think we live in a very heavily influenced review culture, whether we like it or not. Before we go to a restaurant, we look at what the reviews are saying or the bar. We do that, right? And I think because this industry is unregulated, right? Anyone can start making infields and declare themselves a coach, right? I think the client testimonials are so important because I want to imagine myself in the position of a client and hear what they've got to say about this person. I want to see the coach in the field coaching his clients. I want to see him helping them overcome their self-limiting beliefs, getting numbers, actually elevating themselves as individuals. There's just, for me, there's just far too many people in this space, and all it is just talking to camera. That's it, right? I think the talking to camera videos are useful. Of course they are. It's good content. Like it shows you credibility and authority as a person. But like you say, if you're gonna go and spend money, a lot of money on a coach, you need to see them in the field, and that's why I'm grateful that I worked with you early because I think our level of morality is aligned. Yeah, when I have shit approaches, they all get used. They're going to get used for rejection reels. They're going to get used for let me break down my own conversations. Let me share. Right, this was terrible. Look how bad I used to be. That's useful. That's value. But I think a lot of coaches, they just want to cherry pick. They just want to put out their highlight reel, and they don't want to show any level of humanity. And I think that's one of the biggest things that was missing in this industry. I never really felt as though there were humans in this industry. It all felt like these psychopathic robots who there was just no humanization. There was no humanization in their content, their conversations, their personality. So I struggled to find people who I resonated with. And I do think that's the most important aspect when it comes to selecting someone who you're going to work with. It's, would I be friends with this person outside of this? Like, would I actually get on with this person in everyday life? Like, would I go down the pub with this individual, just have a good time with him? And if the answer is no, I don't think that's the right person. The other thing that I wanted to say as well, because I'm in a position now where I've spent like tens of thousands of dollars on coaching, on networks, on masterminds, right? So I'm prepared to invest heavily into myself as an individual. However, I think the most important mindset to have when you are going to pay a lot of money for something is understanding that it's never just one thing that's going to change your life. So when I was part of a $10,000 coaching mastermind, I didn't pay that money thinking, right, my life is going to instantly change. No, that's the money that gives access. And I do believe the more money we spend, the more committed we become to get the result. However, if I didn't feel as though I got my money's worth, I would declare that as my fault. The coach did his job. So I think that clients need to take responsibility as well. Like, this works as long as you do. So don't just think because you spent money, like you say, your life is going to change instantly. No, the money gives you the financial accountability. It's like, right, I've dropped a lot of money. I'm going to make this work. But it's never just one thing. It's never just one course or one coach or one program. It's usually, in my experience, it's an amalgamation of many different actions that we take. So I think that needs to be understood by guys who do want to get coaching. This works as long as you do. One coach is not going to change your life completely if you're not prepared to meet that person halfway. So I think that's important for guys. I do think they just think, I'll spend this money, my life will change. Yeah, it will, but you need to be accountable for your own actions.
Yeah, in fact, I was just writing down some points as you were talking there. So, like one of the things that definitely you mentioned about like any guy that, well, in fact, I mean, over the years, I've met and worked with so many coaches and also guys who claim to be coaches as well. And the thing is that anyone can film in fields of themselves. You know, I've had private clients that I filmed in, you know, and there's been content that hasn't gone on YouTube, and then there's been ones where they've, you know, based their infield on trying to start a business with it. But the thing is that if anyone can film in fields, then how do you separate the coaches from the guys who are just, you know, trying to hustle? And as you mentioned, and it's something that I do strongly believe, is that you need to have client transformations on a channel. You need to have some documentation of not just the journey of the client that you're working with, but also how you work with them. I've met many guys who they can do street approaching, they can build attraction, they can get results, but they don't know how to teach another guy how to do it. They only know how to do it for themselves, and they only know how to teach someone who's got the exact same personality as them. And even then, it'd be more of a case of osmosis where you're just hanging out with someone and those skills just kind of pass on or get rubbed off onto the other person. So for me, it's always really important to try and have client transformations. And I've always kind of jokingly said it's like gold dust. You could literally rely on a YouTube channel to just have client transformations, because at the end of the day, it ticks all of the boxes that any guy needs to see to make that decision of if that coach is right for them. Like definitely like on your channel, you've got those transformations of guys from different backgrounds, different like cultures and races and whatnot, and you're able to then show what is possible. It's the same when I've worked with like other clients in the past, and then the different, even again like the different kind of cultures, religions, backgrounds, and races and so on, has actually then been a somewhat promotion to that particular market. I've kind of always used the example of like with Bav in the past. So he was a transformation that happened on James's channel that no longer exists. You know, he with him being an Indian guy and having an Indian background, he constantly believed, oh, it wasn't possible to get results. But just through watching his transformation, that drew in a lot of Indian guys being able to see what was possible. And you get that with any kind of, you know, background, you know, even like with a geeky guy, if he sees another geeky guy getting results, he's suddenly going to go, oh, wow, okay, I can do that too. So any guy can really film their infields, but it's important, I think, to see how a guy can actually teach another guy how to get those same results. And that's why, yeah, I strongly agree. You know, if someone wants to be a coach, got my cat here. If someone wants to be a coach, then you need to kind of make sure that there are also some kind of either demonstration or client transformations of guys working with the coach.
Leave the pussy alone.
Yeah, it's because it's getting near a feeding time. But yeah, the guys need to actually see. Very distracting you are, Lily. Sitting there. But yeah, guys actually need to see the results.
How to approach a cat in field. Do a client transformation with her.
Yeah, she's feeling left out, is what it is. That yeah, it's just incredibly important that guys see that. It really does separate just someone who says that they're a coach to actually demonstrating they're a coach. I'm going to have to take you off screen there, Lily. And then the other thing as well that you mentioned about just with like the development over the years with the industry. Well, one of the biggest, I think, scams at the time, and we're going back probably before I got involved in the industry, actually doing filming and producing, was that coaches were never putting out rejections. So there was a time in the industry, and I'd say this is like probably like 2006 to 2013. And I got involved actually filming in the industry in sort of 2012, 2013. There was a time where no coach was putting out rejections. So it gave the perception that every approach that they did, they were 100% getting a phone number, or they were 100% going on an instant date, or that it resulted in them sleeping with every woman that they met. It genuinely made every dating coach and pickup artist as if they were like some kind of like dating god, and that, you know, working with them you would be like such a privilege. You'd have to probably get in front of them and bow to them with how amazing they were and how privileged you are to learn the knowledge and wisdom that they had picked up. When in reality, what I was seeing behind the scenes was nothing like that. And then when it came to like the sales point of view, you had guys believing, oh wow, if I work with this coach, I am guaranteed going to learn these same skills. And then the coaches weren't. The problem that the coaches had is that they weren't delivering that result. So there was, when they met in the middle, there was this miscommunication of what was the expectation and what was the actual reality with what guys were going to be getting. And so many guys, you know, were spending thousands of pounds and getting nowhere. And then the gaslighting excuse that the coaches would give would be, oh, well, it's your fault. You just need to pay me more money and get more practice in, and then you'll get there. And it was like unnecessarily setting a bar way too high that guys were just never going to reach, because they weren't being told that the reality was is that the dating coaches were getting rejections, they weren't getting all of the successes, and in fact it wasn't an overnight success, that it took a lot of coaches either years to get results, or they quit everything, like their businesses or their jobs, spending time with friends, family, socializing, and so on, to just literally throw themselves into the deep end of doing approaching, got addicted to it, and of course, that sacrifice of everything else to focus on just that one thing is what sped the whole process up for them to actually get good results. So yeah, there was absolutely, you know, there was a lot of changes that needed to be made, and I was quite proud that the content that I made with Johnny Berber at the time, because he was the first dating coach that I filmed with in 2000, and I think it was either the end of 2013 or it was 2014. That the content that I then did with him is what completely revolutionized the dating industry. It changed it for the better. It made it more moral and ethic. It showed the truth of what the results were with going out and doing approaching, and it set much more realistic expectations for guys who were choosing to actively work on this for themselves.
Yeah, I think the realistic expectation side is really important. I think it's very easy on social media to portray a lifestyle that you yourself are not living, right? You spoke about the smoke and mirrors, the facade, all of this. Yeah, like I think it is easy to portray a lifestyle, sell people the lifestyle, but you're not actually getting those results yourself. And then, but the issue is though, it's like the client is going to find out at some point that it is all smoke and mirrors, right? And I think in this industry, reputation is everything, right? Like the amount of guys who I've coached over the years who've had quote unquote coaching from other coaches and then have come to me and are like, dude, like that experience was fucking awful. Like we literally just like walked around like mates around the streets and like there was no coaching, there was no accountability. I think the biggest thing that is lacking from a lot of coaches is actually the aftercare element. Like actually continuing a relationship with a client beyond that initial in-person experience. So like
Yeah.
for me, my commitment to my clients doesn't stop after those 5 days. That's just the start of everything. Like that's the reason why I built my network, the Entourage. It's so I can keep all of my people in one place. We have group coaching calls every single week, and it's a way for me to hold people accountable, but more importantly, hold myself accountable as well. It's like, dude, if you're not happy by the end of those 5 days, like in the highly unlikely event that you're not happy by the end of our 5 days together, the way that I run my coaching is I'm continuing to work with you for free anyway until you're happy. So I think that's the only way that this can work. Like, I don't agree with those, let's say, like 1 or 2 days of like hits of motivation, and then that's it. You never see or hear from the coach again. I do think that the way to get results, very much like going to a personal trainer, is sustained, consistent immersion and accountability over a longer period of time, so you can actually build a relationship with the people who are paying you. I think that's the best way to do it. It's certainly, and look, I've experimented with many different offers and programs and boot camps. I used to just do the 3-day workshop, and it's like that works for some people, but also it's like, what do I feel is the most value I can give? And I want my commitment to continue beyond that initial 5-day immersion. So I think that's a really important aspect. It's the continuation of that relationship, you know?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, actually, you know what? I might have to do this in future, just writing notes as we're talking, because it's so much easier for me to remember things and then not have to like try and hold on to it. So something that you did actually mention, which actually got me thinking about, well, you mentioned about with like the coaches who kind of come and go, and I've actually written about that. What I don't think new coaches realize, especially ones that are sold on this idea of the rock star lifestyle, is the mental health that they are having to deal with the guys who are coming to work with them. And I think that can actually take a toll on the coaches, or there have been coaches that have just they've realized that it's just too hard work to work with guys, and it takes away the fun of actually going out and doing cold approaching. So, you know, what was once the dream to be a dating coach and help people and then make that money so they can carry on funding that lifestyle has essentially then brought them down when they've had that realization that actually it's not all fun and games. I'm having to work with guys who do have genuine problems. They do need help. Some need therapy, whatever, but it's not easier said than done, which is why usually most coaches who aren't cut out for the industry, they tend to sort of give up within the year. So anyone that's usually been going well after a year, I'd say they're more established and they understand the industry. Doesn't always necessarily mean that in circumstances they cater or care for the clients. They still might be living that rock star lifestyle. I've definitely known coaches over the years that have now been and gone who were quite happy to essentially say and do what they can, get the clients to work with them, make a crazy amount of money, and then it would just fund their addictive habits. So I've known coaches who have like drug, alcohol, and sex addictions, and but you wouldn't be aware of that, or guys wouldn't be aware of that because what they would see on screen or on video was nothing of the sort. They would just see someone who showed genuine care and affection for their clientele. But I also did actually write down about the cycle of the industry, which kind of then leads into that. That, you know, one of the shticks that I've got with this industry is that when you get guys who've gone off, they've done like a boot camp or a residential experience, and it's not to be offensive to anyone, but I think it becomes a bit ridiculous when people have done like a boot camp or residential, and then they've decided, you know what, I want to be a dating coach now. This is amazing, you know. And they've had no prior experience to anything, and they've been sold on the euphoria of the industry. And they're like, you know what, I want to be a coach now, or I want to give back to the community and help everyone. Or like, you know what, this is easy. I can do that. If I only have to film myself on camera, chat to girls, and I can sleep with them and stuff, and guys are going to pay to hang out with me, sure, yeah, I can do that. And and then again, when they start working with the clients, and then they realize actually it's not fun and games. There are guys who have genuine problems who need help and care and support. That's not just over a weekend, but they need a more long term thing. Then yeah, they need that. But I mean, yeah, it really bothers me when guys say that, and then I've seen how the cycle plays out, and it's hilarious how it repeats every like couple of years, where you get someone who starts a dating company or a dating business, they build their reputation, they get really good, then it kind of gets to a point that potentially they can hire other people to work underneath them. Then those people who work underneath them start building their reputation, and then they start realizing, hang on a minute, I could make more money working for myself rather than working for this dating coach or dating company. Then there's always a mutiny. It always happens. Everyone gets really cocky or selfish, which is fair enough if they want to make more money. And then they end up breaking away. They then start their own businesses. They rival then the original person that they were working for. And then the cycle literally starts all over again. They grow their reputation. They get to a point where they hire more people. Mutiny happens, starts all over again. And yeah, I've seen this happen through like every generation of this dating industry. I think we're like on the fifth or sixth generation at the moment. And I could put a bet on it that the same thing will happen in future as well. It's like clockwork.
Yeah, I resonate with that completely. When I think from the outside looking in, this lifestyle can seem very appealing to the uninitiated, but I really, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and he said to me, like, I don't think people realize how much actually goes into your business, because I think when it comes to building a cold approach business, like we say, it's not just about being great at cold approach. That's one skill that you must have. But then comes along every other skill that you need. It's building the YouTube channel. Yeah, building a YouTube channel. So learning how to edit, learning how to talk to camera. Then you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got copywriting, you've got intersocial dynamics. You've actually got the coaching side of things as well. So you might be great at cold approach, but how can you actually handle other people's emotions? Like it's fine when your clients are getting results, but what about when they're struggling? What about when at 2 a.m. in the morning they just really need somebody to speak to? It's no longer about
Yeah.
cold more. It's not about cold approach. It's you're actually you've actually become someone's point of contact. Like that person right now is struggling. They need somebody to talk to. Are you prepared to actually be somebody's therapist at the same time? I've had guys who I've worked with who I now consider really close friends. They've shared things with me that they've never shared with anybody else. Like they know that I'm never going to share it publicly, of course, but they'll always say the same thing. Like they'll say something to me, and then they'll always follow it up with, "Oh my god, I'm sorry. Like I don't know why I said that." I said, "You said that because you feel comfortable, because you know I'm not going to judge you for it, and because they feel as though they have a connection with me, where it's kind of like we know each other, right?" So people just don't understand this. They'll just be doom scrolling on social media. They'll see one of my videos and they'll think, "Oh my god, this guy's life, it's so easy. Oh, this guy's a scam." And it's like you don't actually. It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? It's like you see the tip,
Mm.
but all of that stuff under the water, all of the stuff behind the scenes that people don't see, they just see the lifestyle. They don't actually see what it takes to build it. And that's why whenever ever anyone says to me, "Oh, I want to be a coach. I want to do what you're doing." I bet you fucking don't, because after a week you will run for the hills when you realize how much energy and drive and dedication building something like this actually takes. I'm not saying this to be like, "Oh my god, I'm so good." I'm using it as a warning and a call to action. I do think that you either have this calling or you don't. Yeah, there's so many ways to make money online. So many ways. You don't have to become a dating coach. You don't have to work in the cold approach industry. You can find something that resonates with your character. But I think if you're getting into this industry just to make money, you're going to get found out very quickly. Like you say, you're probably not going to make it past the first year. And if your heart's not in it, if you're focusing on revenue over impact, your reputation is not going to last. Like, I've heard of coaches who pay prostitutes just to guarantee that their clients get
Yeah, yeah. I know of a few who actually that was their dating life behind the scenes. That the money that they were making through working with guys, their the mentality of it was that they saw it as like, well, actually, I don't need to be approaching anymore. I can just get sex literally on tap whenever I want. I only, I've got the money for it now. And if you go to places in London, it's not really that expensive to get a happy ending. So I mean, you can, yeah, it's questionable, really. I think certainly the experiences or the mentality that I think a lot of coaches have.
Yeah, so I think what would be good is if we finish this discussion with some optimism, because obviously we're making this video to make people aware. Like, we just want to create awareness. Like, don't believe everything that you see online. Do your research. Make sure that the coach that you want to work with has got credibility through client experiences, even just the way he carries himself, the way he talks to camera. All of that stuff's important. I think having a good bullshit radar, like you say, I know not all guys have that, but I don't know. I just think before you invest any money in anything, you need to have done your research. So I think that's the biggest thing that guys can take away.
Yeah, well, one would hope. I mean, again, I've met so many guys who you'd have thought that common sense would make sense, but it just doesn't. Which is why this industry will always have a lot of vulnerable men. Which is why, again, I emphasize, before you literally jump in the deep end, just trial working with a coach, whatever their like lowest, cheapest package is, or
Yeah.
even if you genuinely say to them, look, is there any chance? I know you haven't got it as an offer, but is there any chance I could pay you just to do like 2 hours of a session so I can get an idea? I'm interested in doing your week-long training or your weekend training, but I just don't know if I'm right for it or not. And I'd rather be certain. Can you offer that? Because coaches work for themselves, I would be very surprised if someone was going to turn down money in that sense. If they know that they've got an opportunity to actually get a bigger sale here, yeah, I think guys need to be willing to sort of dabble in that. But importantly, yeah, you've got to. I think guys need to develop a bit more of a common sense with their shopping, and bear in mind that when you are going to a coach, they are professional salesmen. They know how to handle objections. They know how to talk about things before you even ask them. They know how to handle any kind of question, query, hesitation you might have. So you're dealing with a dating coach. You're dealing with someone who's going to woo you. Yeah, just bear that in mind. That's at least just my 2 cents, just to add on to that.
Yeah, no, I think it's all useful. I think it's original and valuable that we're actually able to have these sort of discussions, because we're both operating and building businesses in the dating industry, right? So I actually think to have a transparent discussion like this, where we can just be completely 100% real with people, I think that is valuable, and I think people appreciate the authenticity there. It would be very easy for us to make a live stream together singing the praises of the entire dating industry, right? Really, really selling that dream lifestyle, right? We could talk for hours on end about doing that, but I think what's been valuable about this discussion is we're just providing a realistic point of view. I think people appreciate the realism. Just the thing that I wanted to ask you before we say au revoir. What was your motivation for getting, like, starting in this industry in the first place? Not as a coach, but, like, let's say as a client. Like, where was your dating life before this, and what were you actually hoping to get out of it? Because I think that would be valuable, because we spoke about getting brainwashed into wanting what other people have told. Like, how did what did you want, and how did what you want change over the years?
Okay. To be honest, I mean that alone could probably end up being another live stream, because I mean that's almost like talking about my whole like origin story with how I got into
Or
the
give
industry and how it.
give the overview, and then we can do an origin story another time.
Sure. So I suppose a summary is, I mean, I was 21. I had never kissed a girl. So this is what 2009. I had essentially been introduced to Neil Strauss's book, The Game, after having a somewhat mini breakdown in a club, being so fed up with not meeting women, and then getting hooked on the concept of pickup. I got incredibly addicted to it in sort of 2010 to 2011, that it actually had made me go very weird, and then kind of had gone full circle where I was then unable to actually talk to people because I was fascinated with the concept of creating the perfect approach, the one that you would 100% get a result from. Whatever you wanted, you could never fail. I think I got close over the years, but then it just sort of discovered that actually it's just really about bringing out your charisma and charm and stuff in your conversations. That's really what you need. But I mean, yeah, before I got into the industry, I mean, I suppose I didn't really have too many expectations. I mean, because I didn't know what. It's very difficult to imagine what a self-actualized version of yourself looks like if you've never ever experienced it. So, I mean, back then, I mean, I was awful. I mean, I practically lived in my room. I was addicted to playing on the PlayStation. I think I certainly had a porn addiction as well. It was just easier to rely on all of them to kind of satisfy my needs than to go out and socialize. I'm certainly aware that even when I was younger, I was quite attractive. That because I actually had women chase me. I had women who were after me, and I just didn't know how to handle it. So I used to go really shy in those circumstances, and I think really awkward as well. So I'd just try and avoid them like a plague, and it would just go back to sitting and playing on the PlayStation. And then I think when I got into the industry, again, I think when you get a taste of success, it's like whenever if you've ever kind of like Lily, if you've ever had like a drug of sorts, not that I'm promoting it, but if you get like a euphoric high, and you feel amazing, you feel on top of the world, you feel confident, you feel invincible, and so on. And I think that's kind of the hook into the dating industry. And then you kind of go through particular thresholds where your confidence kind of goes past the point that you never imagined, and then you're in like a whole different phase. And then you kind of go through that, and then you're in like the most like godlike mode phase. Yeah, I mean, I think I never really had any expectations. I never knew what to expect, but certainly once you do get a taste of the success, I mean, it's addictive. And no one back then was really teaching how to manage that as well, which is something that I then was able to introduce when I did start working behind the scenes. Um, but back then, people's mental health was a lot worse because of the addictions that they were getting. And I know for me, I was addicted to again approaching, fascinated with I was crazy watching like the infields back then. Again, before I got into the industry, and yeah, and then it made me go weird, and I just had to take a break. So, and then it wasn't until I took that break and came back into it, that was then when I had a much clearer understanding of like, okay, well, look, if I'm going to be in this industry, this is what needs to happen. Or, you need to take the industry with a pinch of salt. Don't take everything that you watch or hear from people too literally. You have to be an individual in it. What you want is going to be very different to actually what coaches want and even what other guys want as well. So you have to kind of be you have to actually almost be a big boy, and you have to make your own decisions and accept that every action or decision that you make is your responsibility, and trust your judgment with that as well. If you want a relationship, then work towards having a relationship. If you want to be single, then work towards being single. If you want to change your mind between them, that's absolutely okay. But make sure you've got some kind of like long-term and short-term strategies in place, so you aren't going to go weird from just practically living on the street and talking to people, or you're going to be just potentially chasing something that actually isn't for you, but you're only doing it because other people told you to go for it. Um, so yeah, I think that was kind of really what I learned. I mean, yeah, I didn't really have any expectations otherwise when I got into the industry because I just didn't know what I was getting myself in for. And hell, I mean, I had no idea that 16 years later I'd still be, working in it and now actually shifting again into the coaching realm with it as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just having no expectations, but kind of trusting the process. I think is the important thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think from what you were saying before about guys sampling a coach before they go the full way. The part of the reason why we put our products together in London is not only to give guys an experience of what it's like to work with the both of us, but also to give them more of an affordable option as well. So I think for the people who don't know, we run single day sessions in London. They're called Renaissance Days. And they're your opportunity to have the experience that I've had for the past 4 years. So, working with Daniel in London and having your approaches filmed. We pre-framed it last time with the content is not going to be shared publicly on the internet. It's for your private use only. Daniel will
Yeah.
film. I will give feedback. So you'll do the day with Daniel in London. You'll have your session. He'll record your approaches, and then he sends the footage over to me for deeper analysis. I think this is the best segue into dipping your water into cold approach. You get to work with the both of us. You have your day filmed in London. I give you the feedback, and then we're connected. I think that's the important thing. It's like guys actually get a taste of what it's like to be connected with the both of us. We're not just these random people on a screen anymore. We're actually recurring crossover characters in your life. So yeah, I think just before we say au revoir, just the benefits, like the benefits of actually getting yourself recorded off the top of your head. Why is that important for guys, and why should they sign up for a Renaissance Day?
Oh, well, the fact that you're going to be able to watch yourself from a third person perspective and actually see yourself where you're going right and where you're going wrong. And even when we are out filming together, I will give you coaching. Don't worry, it's not a case of like I'm literally like standing there, mouth zip closed and off you go. I am very fortunate to say that over the years I have actually trained coaches to be better with their dating skills, their conversation skills, and you only have to look at every coach that I've worked with, and definitely even with yourself as Kristian. You only have to watch like the first video that's on your channel, and then just see the development of how you've changed, not just I think with how your conversations have just changed, but also how you physically and mentally and emotionally have changed as well by being able to put out content and watch yourself back. I think it's an amazing uh, technique in a way to actually, again, have that kind of out of body experience. You get the feedback, you can see exactly where you're going wrong. You can, in fact, see how other people perceive you, which is something that no one gets to experience. When we're so caught up in our heads and we have our own limiting beliefs and how we think about ourselves or how we see ourselves and stuff, you can actually see how other people see you. And even when I give like people feedback, don't get me wrong, I'm never harsh, but I will give you, very honest, genuine feedback. And most of the time, I think a lot of like advice that I've ended up giving guys has really been to kind of like diffuse the limiting beliefs that they've had about themselves. And I've then been able to give whatever feedback necessary to make tweaks. But I think probably one of the biggest game changers for guys, this will sound silly, that is the fact that they aren't as bad as they think they are. They're actually very good conversationalists. As soon as they're able to just not stress about the situation, not let that anxiety get the better of them, and definitely you'll get that experience when you work with me, when I can take you out, I can film you, I can see where you're going right, I can see definitely where you're going wrong, and I can nudge you back on track. And I'm very fortunate, even in like the last couple of clients that I've worked with, In fact, one of your, I don't know if I had a chance to say, I'm actually working with one of your clients again
Yeah, I know.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he told you. Yeah, I can't remember if I said so. So we're going to end up walking around again, and he loved the session. He absolutely loved the feedback that I gave him.
Well, the great thing about that was he then actually sent his infield into the Entourage. So
Oh, did he?
yeah, and like I was like, this is so cool because not only is he getting feedback from me, but he's actually sharing it with the rest of the members inside of the network, and then they're all getting inspired by it because he's an older guy as well. So like they're just
Yeah,
like, like oh,
51.
yeah,
Am I right in thinking he's 51? Yeah, yeah,
in this guy in his early 50s, he's out there blazing a trail, and he's also got the emotional bravery to share his infield with the rest of us. And like, I know from experience that it is almost impossible to master this skill set on your own. And it hurts my ego to say that because I always had that DIY mentality. Like, I don't need anybody else. It's just complete bollocks thinking that you're gonna master such a super difficult skill set on your own with no feedback, no accountability, and no masculine support network of people who can actually tell you what you need to know rather than what you want to hear. And I think, especially in this, you don't know what you don't know. And I do think it is ludicrous. The guys who comment online being like, oh, I've done this for 10 years, I've got nowhere. It's like your ego is so big that you can't ask for help. And I think it's just
yeah,
that the amount of money that guys waste over their lifetime, like going on nights out, going on expensive holidays, buying a 20 grand car, all of this is done in an attempt to get girls. So rather than pissing your money away on things that you think might get you girls, you invest into your greatest asset, which is you and your skill set. So I think the experience that we're providing is the most unique coaching experience available. The guys get to work with you, they get feedback from me, and they actually get to find out where they're going wrong. And I think you make a good point. There are a lot of guys who are they're not as bad as they think, but I think the thing that they lack the most is someone to actually believe in them. I think that
yeah,
is the core tenet of coaching is having enthusiasm about someone's future and someone's ability more than they do. Yeah, you'll get a guy. There's nothing wrong with him. There's literally nothing wrong with him. But he's like, oh, I'm so bad at this, and this, and he's already painted this picture of why he can't do something. And then I'll watch him have a conversation, or you'll watch him have a conversation. I'll be like, bro, that was really good. And like, he can't even comprehend that he's actually good at something. And it's like, I do think that having someone else who believes in you, who is more confident about your future than you are, that's what coaching should be about. I think therapy is for the past and coaching is for the future. I think if you can
yeah,
get more excited about someone's future than they are, that's when people's dating lives and just lives in general explode. Because for the first time in their life, they actually start to believe in themselves because they've got someone who believes in them. So I think that's what paying the money is for as well. It's just having that belief. And it's like when you actually believe in yourself, when someone else believes in you, you feel as though you can do anything. So yeah, I think that's important. It's almost
yeah. Well,
do it all on your own.
yeah. I mean, even just to add on that, I think one of the heartbreaking things that I have seen in the industry is that guys just don't have the support that they need to develop and grow, and and it's just kind of sad that that you've got like genuinely good guys who aren't getting anywhere because they just don't believe in themselves, and all they really need is just someone to say you're doing a good job. Like something it's hard. It's just so sad to see that no wonder men suffer so much and that the mental health for guys is struggling because everyone just tends to keep shitting on men rather than actually saying, you know what, you're doing a good job, like keep at it, you can do it. And definitely with like your client, that was, I wouldn't say that was the case, but there were moments that I said to him, like, you are doing really well done, you should be really proud of yourself for doing that. And I think like just those extra little nudges, and even on the client that I worked with a couple of weeks ago, the exact same thing. He just needed someone just to say to him, you're doing a good job, tweak this, tweak that, but you're doing great, you're doing really, really well. And you just watch like the guys' faces light up with that. And I think actually for me, this is one of the things that I actually just do like with, I think now, being a coach and just doing coaching with guys is actually, I mean, I've always kind of helped people behind the scenes anyway. But for me, it's always just about making sure that guys are being better guys and that they're happy in their own skin. And it's probably also why, yeah, you do need to end up going to a coach. You need to be part of some community or support system or have something in place that is, making sure that you are moving forward rather than moving backwards, and that you aren't allowing your own limiting beliefs or that voice in your head to say that you aren't good enough or you're not capable of doing something. And that you just need someone just to say, good job, like, do it again, try it again, absolutely fine. You're in safe hands. I'm here to support you. Don't worry. That situation isn't going to go as bad as you think it is. And of course, the guys get results from that. And I think the client did actually get phone number. I don't know, did he get a phone number or not? I can't remember if he got a phone number or not now. But he did have a couple of good conversations.
Yeah, well, he went out. He went out a couple of days after you'd filmed together. He went out with another guy who's in the Entourage, and for the first 30 minutes, it was absolutely awful. They just couldn't find anybody who they found that attractive, and then he kept plugging away at it, and then eventually he found this Norwegian girl in her mid-20s, and he had a really good conversation with her. He got the number. I think the momentum aspect with this is everything. Like when you've got good.
Yeah.
When you've got good momentum behind you, you've got a good network.
Yeah. And support. I'd add on that, and support as well. When you've got momentum and the right kind of support, you can just go full steam ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite aspects of the network that I run. Guys know that we're only ever a voice message away. We don't even need to be with them in person, but they know that they've got this echo chamber of empathy. So whenever they're having a shit day, or they've just had a shit approach, or they've had a really good approach, and you just want to share it with somebody, it's like, I remember when I was learning this on my own, I'd have the best approach ever. I didn't have anybody to share it with. So I would just make these little videos for myself just to immortalize it into a piece of content. But when it's like, when you have an amazing approach or an amazing win, or you finally have like a 5-minute conversation after only ever being able to have like a 30-second interaction, just by being able to share it with other people, it makes the win a million times more powerful. And also, you inspire other guys, and it's like you hold yourself accountable as well. It's like, oh my God, I'm good at this now. I want this person to know, this person to know. And you get that support, you get that masculine respect as well from other guys who get it. I just think a big part of this process, which I've really learned, I think over the past 12 months or so, is finding your people, like finding that tribe of like-minded individuals who you can actually talk to about this stuff with. I think a lot of guys become closet cold approaches where they don't even want to tell their friends that they do this, because it's like this dirty little secret. And then if their friends do find out about it, they might feel judged or ashamed about it. So I think this industry specific, because like if you like fitness, if you like chess, if you like swimming, that's like socially acceptable passions. But you can't go down the pub and be like, yeah, bro, I went out today, cold approach, 5 girls, got blown out. There's very few people you can actually have those conversations with. And I think if you don't have people in your life, you are severely restricting yourself of your own potential as a human being.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, communities are an incredibly important thing for any kind of personal developmental growth, whether it be even in just the dating industry or just even going out and socializing as well. I think guys really need to certainly consider that. And I've known this as well in the past, also with coaches, that I don't think people are aware just how lonely the lifestyle is for dating coaches. Obviously they choose it, they love it, they enjoy the independence and being solo. But when you're either, I suppose, if you're either like traveling around the world, or you're in a location, but you're just constantly going on dates and you're never really having that opportunity to spend time and socialize with people, then yeah, I mean, I feel for coaches. I've known coaches who have actually been depressed and whatnot from the loneliness. So being part of a community is really important. And actually, I think that's one of the things that I have liked with, I think, your Entourage group, because not only you've got guys who are on that same wavelength, but they really do genuinely look after each other, and they do at least give each other the support that they need to make sure that no one kind of like falls back or slips behind in their mentality or whatever. Because yeah, I think just everyone needs someone to kind of tell them that you're okay. Don't worry about it. We're all in the same boat here. If you fall, we're all going to come and catch you, rather than someone thinking that they're on their own.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, all the links for everything are below. The Renaissance Days, the Entourage. I'll link your channel below as well, so guys can go check out your stuff. You've surpassed 200 subscribers now, man. So you're hitting the fucking big time.
Yeah. I've realised though, and this is kind of ironic with me also being a YouTube strategist, but I've noticed now my videos over the last couple of days are starting to like double and triple, and it might be because I'm not actually watching my own videos. So whenever I've released a video, because I've got just a couple of other channels, just to kind of get the ball rolling, so it doesn't look like there's just one view, and to get it going. I've watched it on a couple of others, but I think actually the YouTube algorithm has seen that as maybe bots have just literally been watching the videos. Because now I'm noticing I'm getting like 100, 200 views on videos rather than just the 30, 40. So hopefully that might now speed the process up with getting more subscribers.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Slap my own hand, I think, on that one, but
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah, no, I'll link everything below. If you resonate with us, you like what we do, and you're like, yeah, do you know what? I actually get on with these people. I want to connect with them on a personal level. Then you can sign up for a Renaissance Day. You can become a member of the Entourage, get coached by me personally, 5-day one-on-one in-person coaching experience in a European city of your choosing. And I'll also link your channel below as well, so the guys can go over, watch your stuff.
yep.
And
Yep.
shower you with affection and adulation and adoration, and that's just nice. And you're gonna go feed your cat now, yeah?
Yes, considering she has been patiently waiting for food for a good 25 minutes. So yeah, once she's fed, she'll end up sleeping. But it just gives me an opportunity to make more videos for my channel as well, which I can now sort of do without her tormenting me, and hopefully not walking past the screen at the same time.
Yeah. Cool. Right. No, thank you. Thank you for dedicating your time to us. I think this live stream's been super valuable. So hopefully the guys have got a lot of value from it. If you have enjoyed it, then drop the video a big fat like, and leave your comments as well below. Like, we want to hear what you've got to say about this discussion. If you disagree with us, let us know. If you love us, you can tell us that as well. And if you want to take Dan's cat out on a date, then maybe that's the question that you can ask Daniel. I don't have authority over that cat.
We'll leave people with cat fetishes in their own homes. They're not coming near my cat.
Fine, be like that. Well, we've got a date booked at Octave next week. Taking your cat. Anyway, I'll let you go. Thank you for dedicating time. All the links are below. Au revoir.